and welcome to episode 6, I believe, of the official Ohio City live stream, OHC-TV. We're really excited today about our guest, but we'll get to that in a moment. To start, let's go ahead and talk about this wonderful piece of art that we have on the screen, Whitney.
Yes, so this is by Erin Guido. She is one of the personal artists or local artists that is very familiar, very involved in the community of Ohio City. And I will say, Chad, that she is extremely positive. Like, it doesn't matter what the situation is. I love how lighthearted her art is. So this one was put up early during COVID-19. When restaurants and businesses started to shut down, when we were stuck at home. This brought a pop of positivity to the corner of 25th and Detroit Avenue. Chad has her, what's that called? Instagram. Has her Instagram link. So you can check out more of her work. And you may even recognize some of her art from different locations in Ohio City. One of the main ones that I recall that some of you may be familiar with are the Love Doves. It's a really colorful picture of two birds saying, "I love you" to each other on the Shoreway wall right at West 25th in Detroit. She's had smaller pieces all over the place in Passengers Cafe on West 25th Street and different locations. So check her out. We're gonna keep this up and bring a pop of positivity in amidst of all of the drama, the painful, traumatizing drama that's going on, along with COVID-19 and the racial issues our society is dealing with right now.
Absolutely, and I just love it. I love that it's a mural that's two-sided. I think that the "we are in this together" message is really strong, but I also like the lightheartedness on the other side of good to see your face, even if it's under a mask.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get us up on the screen so people can see us. And there we are. I am so excited. Before we get to our guests, which if you've seen the promos we put out this week, is going to be Councilman Kerry McCormack. Before we get to that, I want to talk about something else that's really exciting. Next week, as of Monday, the Special Improvement District in Ohio City, which is typically the easiest physical representation, is our Redcoat ambassadors that we have up and down West 25th and another part of the neighborhood. We are finally expanding that program, and so we'll actually be going all the way down to 50th on Lorraine, as well as quite a ways on Detroit, and I cannot tell you off the top of my head exactly how far because my brain is fried as it's Friday. But typically when we launch these expansions, we like to do a big blitz day where we invite the community to come out and celebrate what's going on, to cheer on the ambassadors as they do work, and a variety of stuff. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic that is happening, we can't really do that. And so I do have a message from the Special Improvement District, Ashley Shaw and Michaela Lowry, who's the new Special Improvement District manager that we have. So while we can't celebrate the way we imagined we would on this day, we'd love to get the community involved anyways. To show appreciation for the ambassadors, we are encouraging community members to make signs and display them within the district area next week. And so as a reminder, that is along Lorraine, West 25th, and Detroit. So business owners are encouraged to hang signs in their storefront windows. Residents in the district are encouraged to put signs out in their yards or windows. Maybe do a little bit of chalking if you feel so inclined. Meet us, and then you can also come out and meet us within the district between 12 and 1 p.m. on June 1st. Monday will be on West 29th in Detroit and celebrating there. And then on the next day, we'll be down at 32nd in Lorraine to celebrate there. So you can come out, you can cheer on the ambassadors, and you can learn about the Special Improvement District program, which is for anybody that is in the district at any point in time. So even if you don't live in the district, when you find yourself shopping at the West Side Market or dropping kids off at St. Ignatius or Urban, there is stuff that you can learn about and know about. And so please come out and celebrate that. If you do come out, please try to wear a mask and then make sure you're definitely maintaining the social distancing, or as I like to think of it, physical distancing practices.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's my big spiel. I think we're all really here to hear from our guest, who today is Councilman Kerry McCormack from, he's the Ward 3 councilman. We know him all over Ohio City as a councilman. He's also a resident within Ohio City, which is excellent. And so let me go ahead and get him pulled up. Oh my goodness. Technology is so difficult sometimes.
It's a love-hate relationship.
It really is.
That's my son walking in the background. We are at home.
Oh, there we go. He got it for us. All right. There you are. How are you doing, Councilman?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
I'm clear.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's so funny. I've been on about 35 million Zoom meetings during this pandemic, and it's just very interesting to see the different dynamics of these things. And some people have full cell phone conversations on the side without muting themselves, and it's just been a very interesting time for people to figure this out. So, but the two of you, I think, have it down.
I'm sorry. I've heard some pretty embarrassing things happen in the background with people not knowing they were unmuted. Yeah.
Right. Not wearing pants like that one reporter.
I saw that. I saw that.
How hard is it to put pants on? But anyways.
When you think no one's looking, I mean.
Except the whole world. Well, thank you both so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And for the folks that are tuning in on this Friday, I just wanted to start by saying thank you to the community for everything that you've done, that we've all done together around COVID-19, supporting each other, staying home, checking in on loved ones and vulnerable community members. Our community has done a great job responding, so I just wanted to thank everybody for that. And also, from Cleveland, sending our condolences to the Floyd family. And I'm, pleased to see that, in the specific case of George Floyd, that there is some action on the law enforcement side happening to hold those who are responsible for his death accountable. So I'm happy to see that, and our condolences to his family.
Absolutely.
And if I can just follow up on that really quickly, Councilman, I have to speak from a person of color, a Black woman in this community. It's difficult now. I was talking to my coworker, I was talking to Chad about this earlier. This is really traumatizing, and it's hard to come to work the next day smiling like everything is okay when it's really not. I'm scared for my children to go outside, for my husband. I have 4 brothers and a father who I have to think about constantly. And women, Black women, are experiencing this too. So we really need to find a way to pull together and ask our friends who are non-people of color to step up and use your privilege in ways that will benefit all of us. I'm being honest about this. It's
absolutely. And, absolutely. I think that, I think about the LGBTQ rights movement, which obviously is intersectional, but how, when it came to things like marriage equality, so much progress was made, and hearts and minds were changed when family members had conversations with family members. And does the law need to reflect justice? Absolutely. Do we need to take more steps as a society? Absolutely. In addition to that, more and more people, and to be honest, that look like me, need to have a conversation with our family members and really push and challenge our family members about what our biases are and how to overcome those, so that these things happen fewer and far between. And quite frankly, we as a society really need to work on hearts and minds, and especially for people that look like me. I will also note that I was privileged to co-sponsor a resolution on March 2nd with Councilman Griffin and Bashir Jones, declaring a racism as a public health crisis here in the city of Cleveland. That was introduced in early March. We will actually have a hearing on that next week. I think it's, let me find out real quick.
That's awesome.
That hearing is Monday at 9:30 a.m. It's going to be on Zoom through City Council's YouTube. And we have a broad array of folks that are going to be speaking on this issue. But really, this conversation, we can't shy away from it, and we have to, really identify the lens in which systemic racism impacts our community and all of the issues that affects. So we're going to be having a pretty in-depth conversation about this on Monday. Check that out. It'll be on City Council's YouTube page, also through TV 20 for folks that normally tune in that way. But again, it's an issue that we all need to be cognizant of, talk about, and work on communally. Especially, I think, folks, talking to their family members to work on hearts and minds.
And I just want to add to that, especially the conversation around this community. If you are watching this and you're not on the Ohio City community page, I really recommend you try to get on there. Paula Camp, who is a neighborhood resident, and she is one of the admins on the Ohio City community page, has actually put out a request trying to get community members who want to engage in conversations around racism and what Ohio City as a community can do to address those issues. And I think it's a phenomenal conversation to have. And I think everyone who's interested in this should definitely be a part of that conversation.
We can send out links. Councilman, if you can share direct information with us, we'll be happy to share after the call is over.
Yep, we can post them in the description here, and we can post them on all of our social media stuff as well, so we can get the word out about that.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
So on a much more lighter note, but also something that is incredibly important to the people of Ohio City, we're here today to talk a lot about trees. Right? Which is a great day to be outside.
It can be contentious as well, has its contentious points.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So go ahead, Whitney.
I'm just going to ask Councilman if you can just give us like a brief overview of some of the issues, some of the concerns, some of the initiatives and ways that we are addressing what's happened in the recent past, Fulton Road, the tree trimming from utility companies a couple years ago. Just kind of give us a brief overview and then we'll delve into it.
Absolutely. Well, this is obviously a very important subject, not only here in Ohio City, but across the city, state, country, etc. And just as a brief overview, the benefits of trees in our community and having a robust canopy have been widely studied. Everything from reducing stormwater runoff to cleaner air to better mental, emotional health for folks in the community, to providing shade for our homes and reducing energy costs, as well as home values. So the benefit of trees is well known and it's well studied. And it's one of the things that we really have to focus on and target today and moving forward. So I'll just kind of give a quick overview of the way at least I see things. I'll just own my own opinion here, but the trees in the community have been absolutely an important topic and a hot button topic for a long time. Recently we've had issues with, as you mentioned, on Fulton Road with the contractor damaging some tree roots, which led to the need to remove some of those trees on Fulton. I came to find out that some residents were very not happy about that, but I was also surprised that some were happy about it because they actually wanted a new tree. It was interesting to hear the different perspectives, but nonetheless, our goal has to be to focus on saving as many trees as humanly possible as a step one, and then also adding to our canopy strategically and ensuring that the trees that we do add are taken care of and maintained. So I'll just go over a quick couple of things that are happening right now in the city and also specific to our community. The City Council and the mayor recently allocated $10 million over 10 years, so $1 million a year additional to our existing contracts to plant and maintain new trees in the city of Cleveland. This is a significant investment. A lot of the trees that were a part of that program are targeting different parts of the city of Cleveland that have the lowest percentage of tree canopy. So really the focus was focus of equity. How do we not just spread the peanut butter all over the city, but how do we focus in on parts of the city that really need to be reforested? So that program is up and running, and their trees are being planted. What's interesting about that, though, is currently residents, and so just as a point of clarification, these trees are in the public right of way that we're talking about. So tree lawns, parks, things like that. Within the city of Cleveland, residents have the ability to reject a tree lawn tree in front of their home. And we have about a 25% rejection rate for trees when they get a notice, when a resident gets a notice that a new tree will go in. So when those trees are rejected, they call them orphan trees. I got to find a new name for that, but free agents. We're going to call them free agents. They become free agents. And those become available to be replanted elsewhere. So to give a couple examples, in Tremont, we actually worked with our neighborhood residents in Tremont to plant 35 new trees. And they were either recently planted or will be in the very near future. Everything from Lincoln Park to folks' tree lawns to different areas of the neighborhood. In one batch, 35 new trees went in there. And we're also looking for additional locations in the public right away for that. On Fulton specifically, on phase 1, which is between Clark and Lorraine, we walked the whole thing with the city's arborists and identified 50 locations for new trees. The funding has been secured for that, and those, I believe, go in the fall. So there will be 50 trees backfilled into Fulton on the phase 1 project, where either trees were removed or where trees never existed, but where a tree could go. Another part of that, too, is on the stretch of Fulton, the phase 2, which is Lorraine to Detroit, the same thing will happen. So when the project is complete, there will be a thorough analysis of the street, and new trees will be planted either where one was or where there wasn't one and one could go. So from a kind of free agent tree perspective, we're looking anywhere in Ward 3 to plug in new trees where those free agent trees exist. Please.
There was a question that popped up on Facebook that I think is actually, this is the perfect time to ask. Since you're looking for spaces, can lawns be nominated? And this question is from Rosa Lito. Can lawns be nominated for a tree?
Perfect question. That was like I promise you, I did not put that question in there. So
plant that. Get the job.
Plant that question. I promise you. Exactly. So that is an excellent question, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on with that. So in order to bridge the free agent trees with homes in specifically for purposes of this, we're talking about Ward 3. What we're doing is we're developing, which will probably be a Google form. We've started to work on it, that will allow for people to identify that they want a street tree in front of their house. It could be a renter or the property owner. And B, what we're doing is we're going to collect information from those households to signify that they want it, and also to get their tree lawn pre-approved, for lack of a better term. So there are certain standards that the arborists require. So it's got to be 4 feet wide. You can't plant a tree on top of a manhole cover. Different things like that that are required. And so what we're going to be doing is getting tree lawns across Ward 3 pre-approved, or also other public right-of-way spaces, and so that we can develop a list to work from, so that when free agent trees do become available, because folks around the city have rejected them, the city arborist will know that A, that tree lawn's pre-approved, and B, we know that that resident wants that tree. So it's going to find a home in which the resident won't fight it, and it also, in addition to the watering that comes with the city contract, the resident's going to take care of that tree. So we should have that launched in the near future. And again, that is creating a database of pre-approved tree lawns and public spaces where folks say they want that tree and where that tree can go, so that when those trees get rejected, we have places and homes to plug them into. So yes, that is underway. Mm-hmm.
So just so I heard you correctly, are you saying that renters can also be the ones to approve trees that are going on tree lawns?
They can. So renters can do that, but they need to have a conversation with their landlord. So, but the renter can be the one. Yes, but the renter can be the one that reaches out and signs up. But obviously, you want them to have a conversation with the landlord so that when the tree shows up, there aren't two opinions, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I wish I had a tree lawn.
What's that?
I said, now I wish I had a tree lawn.
Yeah. So a couple other things on that. Where was I going with that? So that's an exciting project, again, to get those trees in. So we've got kind of the specific corridor or park plans, whether it's Fulton or Lincoln Park and other places. But again, we want to make sure that we're also getting trees planted throughout our neighborhoods. Was a part of the team with Ohio City last year who we worked with residents at Lakeview to plant 5 or 6 trees, and that's another example of a collaboration working with residents, where folks are gonna be able to identify, hey, in front of my apartment or in front of my townhouse or unit, I'd like to see more trees as well. So we want to make sure that it is open to folks, and that, again, when we get the city a list that says, hey, don't worry, when you get a free agent tree, you know that these locations are good to go. They're approved from an arbor standpoint, and the residents want them. We'll make that process a lot easier.
And just to clarify, Councilman, there were 12 trees planted at Lakeview last year.
12? Oh my gosh. I was only working on like 3, forgive me. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's such
well,
a
we put you all up in the group so that we could cover more ground. So yes.
You guys do good work. Thank you for that. Just a couple other, let's see. Do you want me to continue going, or do you guys want to?
We've got a couple more questions that have popped up on Facebook. If you want to go ahead and take a stab at some of them. Maybe
sure, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So John wants to know if you can discuss the nasty tree trimming events that happened on Franklin and how that's going to apply moving forward.
Yeah. So we had, in 2018, we had a really disruptive and bad tree trimming wave, actually through Tremont and in Ohio City. That's just what I know from Ward 3. I don't know if it was, in other areas of the city. And we actually were able to shut that contractor down. And from that, what came of that was the City of Cleveland arborists, who, by the way, agreed that the tree trimming was not up to the regulated standards. And most acutely, you can see that on Monroe, where they actually had to replace the trees.
Yeah.
So they cut the trees back so bad that they were going to die, and there are new trees planted there now, which was at the expense of the contractor because of how poor of a job they did. So anyways, what came of that was now with the in that case it was First Energy, with their tree trimming in the neighborhood, they now have to get a pre-approved plan with the city arborist to say, hey, these are the trees that we're going to that we need to trim, and here's how we're going to do it. An important note too to include in this conversation: so tree trimming is actually, for utilities, is actually regulated by the state of Ohio through the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. So it's a state-regulated trade. It's not regulated on the city level. What the city has leverage over, though, is they're required to have a permit to work in our public right-of-way. So we were able to use that to kind of say, hey, guys, you need to meet our standards here at the City of Cleveland. So the trimming is regulated at the state level, but locally we've been able to team the city arborists up with the utility companies to get a pre-approved plan moving forward. Now, what's going to be important on the community side, though, is that we ensure that they are held accountable to those plans that are created. But it was a mess, complete mess.
So I do have another question that just popped up, and I'm bringing it up because I think you have a photo that we can share that might address some of it. Daniel wants to know if you can address long-term tree maintenance, watering, site selection, and native, locally adapted trees, which will survive better than non-native. Since all those need to be considered for long-term maintenance, can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So let me put a massive disclaimer that I am not an arborist, nor am I educated to be an arborist. I'm not an armchair arborist, so I'll let arborists, speak to the specifics. But what I will say is that what I've been encouraged to see is that the city is now really emphasizing the right tree, right location approach to it. So ensuring that they are planting trees that are appropriate for the area, the climate, and that are appropriate for the location in which they're planted. So that is a huge thing that I don't know that has always been followed in the city, but it is a big emphasis now that the city arborists push. The other thing is through the current contracts that City Council signed off on, two things that we advocated for. One is that when the trees are planted, that there's a 2-year water cycle that the companies are required to do, so to water the new trees that are planted, and also to restore people's tree lawns. So, a lot of times when a new tree is planted or maybe a dead one is removed, it's a mess. And so the current contracts that City Council signed off on, they've got to restore the tree lawn, and when the new tree is planted, I think it's a 2-year cycle or something like that. They've got to water it, the companies that put them in. So that's a piece of it. The other side of it, though, and if you don't mind, if we can talk a little bit about the sidewalk issues in the city of Cleveland, because this is a big problem. I'm looking at my bosses here, my moderators, to signal if I can transition a little bit here.
Yeah,
Is that good? All right. This is your show. I don't want to take it over. So one of the big issues, so we focused a lot on planting new trees, which is wonderful. We focused, we talked about how there needs to be improvement and accountability for tree trimming, which are really important as well. But the other side of it too is being innovative about how we save existing healthy trees. And this, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we're facing as a city. Chad, can you share the picture that I took?
Yep.
So I'm going to throw a picture on the screen. I think. Oh, it is good. I can't see it. So what you're looking at now is actually, I took this picture when I was in DC, and this is a different material. It's some sort of like hard rubber material around a tree. This is just one example of alternatives to concrete sidewalks that I've requested that, that the city administration take a hard look at. And the reason is because a lot of times when there is a mature tree, and let's say many folks will understand that when the sidewalk buckles up a little bit because the roots have grown so much, that is a hazard, especially for people that have disabilities or that have ADA issues. It's a huge problem. I grew up with my little brother who's been in a wheelchair since birth. Shared a room with him my whole life, pushed him, in his wheelchair for the first 18 years of my life. So I, understand how big of an issue these types of obstructions can be. Having said that, we don't need to, cut back the roots so significantly on trees that we kill them in order to mitigate that. And what I mean by that is we need to look at alternative options than concrete sidewalks so that we can mitigate the issue, right? We've got to do that so that folks can traverse the sidewalk safely, but that they can also do it in a way that saves the trees. So this example is a way of when those roots grow, that material that you're seeing there adjusts with them. Other examples I've seen have been different pavers that are also accessible from an ADA perspective, but that also can adjust and move when a tree root grows. So these are the types of things that as a city we need to start to implement so that we can affect as few trees as humanly possible when we need to do things like public right-of-way work.
Sounds wonderful.
That's awesome.
I don't have any other questions. Do you, Whitney? I know we're running low on time right now, so
I've got just a couple more things if you guys don't. So just two more thoughts too.
Oh no!
What's that?
Say that again, Whitney. We lost you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. sorry, my internet's a little unstable. I was just gonna say,
Oh no.
I was happy that you have a couple more points to share, Councilman. And can you touch a little bit? Can you incorporate the if possible?
I'm sorry.
I don't know if it's just your internet or if it's the weather, but you're really, really choppy right there, Whitney.
I did not. Yeah, Whitney, I didn't catch what you said there. Anyway, you can repeat that.
Yeah, my screen keeps freezing. Can you hear me?
Can you put it in the chat?
Can you hear me now? My screen's choppy.
Yeah, sorry, it's fading in. You're fading in and out and choppy.
I'll type it.
All right, type it. So in the meantime, I'm just going to touch on 2 more points. One point is the need to protect trees in the construction process. And one of the things we've talked about with the city arborists, whether it's legislative or otherwise, is creating like fenced off zones around trees in construction, so in the public right of way to protect them. The only other thing, 2 other things that I wanted to mention. We are actually, I'm working with Councilman Casey on reestablishing the tree commission, which currently exists, but we've got to bring it back to life, which is an oversight board over things like the tree plan for the city of Cleveland, as well as to be an oversight board for different new policies when it comes to protecting and planting new trees in the city. So we're ready to go with that a couple months ago from a legislative perspective, and then obviously the global pandemic has thrown off a couple timelines, but that's another thing. The last thing I'll say, and then I will be quiet, I promise, is we've talked about the trees in the public right of way today, but another, we are all responsible for reforesting our city. So remember, if you can plant a tree on your private property, you kind of ensuring it's the right tree for the right location, that also significantly helps us reforest our city. So we've got to get serious about the public right of way, but also your private property. If you're able to plant a tree, that goes a long way.
And that actually, I'm going to go ahead and ask Whitney's question just in case her audio is lagging again. That actually is perfect lead into her question, which was simply stated. How can residents become involved?
Yeah, so how can residents become involved? When we get the survey out, if you don't have a tree lawn on your tree on your tree lawn, and you're interested in having one, when we push this survey out, fill it out, we'll get you on the list, and make sure that your tree lawn can take a tree. The other part of it is to, if you are able to plant a tree on your private property, it's a great way to contribute to the city of Cleveland's tree count.
Wonderful. I think that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us, Councilman. It was awesome. It was great. Any last words before we say goodbye?
Just thank you, Chad and Whitney, so much for hosting this conversation. And this, we have got to double down on our efforts to support our environment and for everyone and for the world. So. These are very serious topics, and we got to make sure that we are taking care of our planet and that we are thinking innovatively in how we do that.
Wonderful. Thank you again so much.
Yep. I think that's really all I have, Councilman. If you can just hang on with us for a few minutes, we'll catch you at the very end. It is important, environmentalism. Connecting it to the needs of every individual resident is important as well, and also understanding, Councilman pointed this out earlier, the health benefits. So even for people who are struggling financially, you mentioned people with disabilities. As a community, trees have an impact on crime rate, on anxiety, on reducing stress, on so many different things that people may not even realize. So we can continue this conversation, provide a little education and talk about the importance of it. And hopefully people do become more involved. We'll need people to plant. We'll need people to water. We'll We'll need people in community cleanups to support all of these efforts. So we're looking forward to that information to share out, Councilman.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and put up. Oh, lots of alerts are coming in, which means we are out of time. I've got our updates as always to kind of sign off the show with. Whitney, you want to say something about your text line?
Yes. So we have started the Ohio City text line for folks who want to receive information non-digital, in the non-digital way. So if you see this, if you're getting this message and you know someone who has a lack of access to the internet or doesn't have a computer but has a phone, let them know they can subscribe by texting the word subscribe to 216-250-1919, and you'll receive weekly notifications and updates on events in Ohio City.
Wonderful. And as I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, come on out either June 1st or June 2nd. June 1st and 29th in Detroit, June 2nd to 32nd in Lorraine between 12 and 1 to learn about the expansion of the Special Improvement District and cheer on the ambassadors while they are busting their tails getting everything nice and cleaned up. So that's that. And then lastly, ohiocity.org/COVID-19 is a great spot to go and find all of the local COVID-19 resources that we have available. So those are the final updates. As always, I do want to say if you have any ideas for artwork that we can feature on Ohio City TV or guests that we should have or conversations that we should have as part of this broadcast, send them all to info at ohiocity.org, and then just put OHC-TV in the subject line so we can make sure it gets to the right person. That's all I have. Whitney, any last thoughts?
Catch us here every Friday at 3:15 p.m.
There we go. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.